Today, we're going to talk about something that for so many people is a deeply personal journey, the challenge of starting a family. And we're going to uncover a pretty surprising connection between fertility and something we all do every single day: eat. And I have a feeling the answer here is probably not what you're expecting.
Man, does this sound familiar. Maybe it's a thought you've had yourself, or maybe you've heard a friend say it. It's a sentence just packed with frustration, right? With confusion. It's that feeling of doing everything by the book, and still, nothing's happening. You know, it's an incredibly common feeling these days, and if you can relate to this, I just want you to know you're so not alone. The real question is, what are we missing? What's the piece of the puzzle that's not clicking into place?
So here's the strange situation we find ourselves in. On the one hand, you've got medical technology like IVF making these absolutely incredible leaps forward. I mean, it's amazing. But at the exact same time, researchers are noticing this really worrying trend. The basic fundamental quality of both eggs and sperm seems to be going down, even in people who are young and by all other measures perfectly healthy. It's a real puzzle, and to solve it, scientists are starting to look away from the complex procedures and towards something much more basic: the daily rhythm of our lives, starting with how, and maybe more importantly, when we eat.
Okay, so here's the big idea. We spend so much time and energy focusing on the details, right? Should I eat kale or cookies? Is organic really better? We get lost in the weeds. But a growing pile of research is suggesting that the real issue might be much simpler and a whole lot deeper. The problem might not be the specific type of food we're eating, but the relentless, nonstop act of eating itself. It's this idea that our constant eating, or really the lack of time between meals, is quietly throwing our body's delicate systems into total chaos.
Now, to really get how this works, we need to zoom in. I mean, way in, right down to the cellular level. And the first concept we need to wrap our heads around is something you could think of as, well, internal rust. It sounds a little strange, but it's a really powerful way to picture a very real process that happens when our cells are just pushed way too hard for way too long.
So the official sciencey term for this is oxidative stress. Now, that sounds complicated, but the idea is actually pretty simple. Every time we eat, our body turns that food into energy. It's a fantastic process. But just like a car's engine produces exhaust fumes, our cells produce a byproduct. These are called free radicals. Now, in small amounts, they're no big deal. The body can handle it. But when we're eating constantly, we're not producing a little puff of exhaust, we're producing a non-stop flood of it. And this overload of free radicals starts bouncing around, damaging everything they touch: cell walls, proteins, even our DNA. That damage is oxidative stress. And that rust analogy? It's perfect. It's this slow, silent decay happening from the inside out, and it can have a huge impact on the most delicate cells we have. And this just shows you the difference perfectly. It's like night and day. On the left, you've got a healthy cell. It's strong, it's a little powerhouse, efficient at making energy, and it keeps its precious DNA blueprint safe and sound. But then you look over at the right, at a cell that's dealing with all that oxidative stress. It's weak, it's rusted, its DNA is vulnerable to getting damaged, and it just can't do its job properly. Now think about this for a second. Eggs and sperm are some of the most specialized, most important cells in the entire body. And it turns out they are particularly sensitive to this kind of rusting damage.
So let's just connect all the dots here, step by step. It's a pretty clear chain reaction. We eat food. Our body turns it into energy, but that process creates those free radical exhaust fumes. Now, if we're eating all day long, breakfast then a snack, then lunch, an afternoon snack, dinner, dessert, we're creating this constant, overwhelming cloud of these free radicals. That cloud is high oxidative stress. And the research is really backing this up. Study after study shows that diets that are consistently high in calories and sugar are directly linked to higher rates of DNA damage in both eggs and sperm. We are essentially making these vital cells old before their time.
So that's problem number one: cellular rust. But now let's talk about the second major issue. This one isn't about direct physical damage. It's about messing with the body's entire communication network, your hormonal system. And the main culprit here, you probably guessed it, is something that's everywhere in our modern diets: sugar and refined carbs. Just think about a typical day's food for a lot of us. A sweet coffee drink, a pastry or cereal, a sandwich on white bread, maybe a soda in the afternoon, pasta for dinner. Every single one of those things sends your blood sugar spiking way up, and in response, your body has to release a huge flood of a hormone called insulin to grab all that sugar and get it out of your blood. But when this happens over and over again, day after day, your body is just stuck on a constant, wild hormonal roller coaster. And that flood of insulin, it doesn't just deal with sugar, it sends shockwaves through your entire system, disrupting that delicate hormonal balance you need for reproduction.
And the consequences of this aren't vague at all. They are very specific and very real. For women, this constant surge of insulin is a known cause of ovulation disorders where the monthly cycle gets all out of whack or even stops. It's also really closely linked to PCOS, polycystic ovary syndrome, which is a leading cause of infertility today. And for men, the body can start to ignore the insulin signal. That's called insulin resistance. This condition is directly linked to lower levels of key male hormones. And that, in turn, can reduce not only the number of sperm, but also their ability to swim effectively. So in both cases, the hormonal chaos that starts on our plate directly impacts the chances of conception.
Now, these problems don't happen in a vacuum. They actually create a cascade, like a chain of dominoes falling. All this metabolic stress starts to put a huge strain on other vital organs. And one of the most important ones is the liver, which surprisingly plays a huge role in fertility.
This is a connection that really surprises a lot of people. When we consistently take in more energy from food than our body can use, a lot of that excess gets stored as fat inside the liver. This leads to a condition called non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, or NAFLD, and it's becoming incredibly common, even in people who aren't overweight. So why does this matter for fertility? Well, your liver is like the master chemist of your body. It's responsible for managing and processing crucial hormones like estrogen and testosterone. But when the liver is all inflamed and clogged up with fat, it just can't do its job right. This throws the body's entire hormonal balance out of sync for both men and women. It's this invisible chain reaction. Constant overeating leads to a fatty liver, which leads to hormonal chaos, which can lead to infertility.
All right, this brings us to the final piece of the problem puzzle, energy itself. Inside almost every single cell in your body, you've got these incredible little structures called mitochondria. The easiest way to think of them is as tiny biological power plants. Their only job is to create the energy that fuels literally everything you do. Now, the process of creating a new life, developing an egg, empowering a sperm, dividing cells to grow an embryo, that is one of the most energy-demanding things in all of biology. So as you can imagine, eggs and sperm are absolutely packed to the brim with these mitochondria. They need a massive, reliable source of power. So what happens when we eat all the time? We're basically forcing these tiny power plants to run at full blast, 24/7, with no breaks. And just like any engine you run into the ground, they start to wear out. They get damaged by the very process of making energy, that same oxidative stress, that rust we talked about earlier. And as they get damaged, they get less efficient. They start to produce less and less energy. So the egg cell doesn't have the energy it needs to mature properly or divide after fertilization. And the sperm doesn't have the fuel to make its incredible journey. This is a lot like what happens as we get older. But the real takeaway here is that this energy fatigue can be sped up dramatically by our eating habits, no matter how old we are.
Okay, I know we've just laid out a whole cascade of problems. Cellular rust, hormonal roller coasters, drained power plants. It might all sound a little bit bleak. But here's the really good news. The solution isn't some complex, expensive medical treatment. It's actually surprisingly simple. And it's all about creating the right conditions for your body to heal itself. This is where we pivot from just understanding the problem to actually unlocking the solution.
Now, this is such an important distinction to make. The goal here isn't about drastic, painful calorie restriction. It's not about being deprived all the time. It's simply about timing. It's about giving your digestive system, your liver, your hormones, and all those little cellular power plants a much-needed break. You see, when your body isn't spending all of its energy on digesting and processing food, it can finally switch its focus to the really crucial work of cleanup and repair. It's like closing the kitchen for the night so the deep cleaning crew can finally come in and get to work.
And there's a really beautiful scientific name for this deep cleaning process, autophagy. It literally means self-eating. And when we give our body a rest from food, this cellular housekeeping program kicks into high gear. Your cells literally start to seek out all the old, damaged junk, that internal rust, those worn-out mitochondria we talked about, and they break them down and recycle them for parts. It is the body's ultimate renewal system. It cleans up the very damage that was causing the problems in the first place, allowing all your cells, including those precious eggs and sperm, to function like new again.
So let's just put this all together in one place, because this really is the key. You see the problem, the cause, and the solution side by side. The problem of rusting cells, or oxidative stress, it's caused by too many free radicals from constant eating. The solution is giving your body a break to turn on that cellular repair, that autophagy. What about the hormone imbalance? That's driven by the constant insulin spikes. The solution is to give your system a break from that roller coaster for a hormonal rest and reset. And finally, those drained power plants, the mitochondrial fatigue, you fix that by giving them time to recover their energy. Do you see it? Every single problem we've talked about traces back to the same root cause. And, remarkably, every single one responds to the same elegant solution.
So, the really crucial point is this. We often think that getting healthy, especially with fertility, is about adding the right things, more vitamins, more superfoods, but it's equally, if not more important, to think about what we can take away. And what we can take away is the constant 24/7 job of processing food. By simply creating a window of time each day where you're not eating, you give your body the most invaluable gift there is: time. Time to clean, time to repair, and time to regenerate itself from the inside out.
And so we end with this one thought. We live in a world that is always telling us to do more, buy more, consume more. But maybe, just maybe, the most profound act of self-care, the most powerful thing we can do for our health, is to simply do less. It's a simple shift in how we see things, but it could be the key that unlocks our body's ability to reclaim its natural vitality. It's all about giving ourselves the time to heal. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer.